Hi guys, it's Miko Martinez, and in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to implement an effective SEO strategy so that you can drive organic revenue to your ecom brand without having to spend a dime on paid ads. If you don't know who I am, I've generated over 8 figures in revenue for the brands I've worked with via SEO. I manage my own portfolio of brands, and I help e-commerce brands scale and reduce reliance on paid ads by helping them build a lasting organic presence on search engines like Google. Let's get started.
Okay, so before we dive into the actual SEO strategy, I want to quickly explain why every e-commerce brand should have an SEO strategy. A lot of e-commerce brands rely solely on paid ads to drive revenue, and it makes sense, right? It's money out, money in, and if the money coming in is higher than the amount you're spending on the paid ads, then voila, you can just scale that. But SEO is actually more cost effective and delivers a better ROI in the long run. The ROI on an effective SEO campaign is 5 to 10 times that of the typical paid ads campaign. That's insane. Another thing is that the traffic from SEO is high quality and intent driven. For example, if someone is searching for craft beef jerky, the likelihood that he's going to buy some craft beef jerky is actually very high. It's not like the user was scrolling through Facebook and was interrupted by an ad. And the last thing is that it builds a lasting organic presence. Like if you own a beef jerky brand and you rank for beef jerky for how many years, it creates like a lot of authority and trust within your customers, right? Like this has to be the best beef jerky brand. Google says so. And I'm not saying that you should run paid ads or SEO. They actually work very well together. With SEO, you can reduce your reliance on paid ads, and SEO actually even helps your paid ad campaigns perform better. Imagine if someone searched for beef jerky, landed on your website, didn't decide to buy, but they fired your pixel. You can then retarget them on Facebook, Instagram, etc with your retargeting ads. And the chances of them converting on your retargeting ads are much higher than people who click on your ad while they were scrolling through Facebook, while they were scrolling through Instagram. So you can see the power of SEO. So now let's get to the actual SEO strategy. So when it comes to effective SEO, there's really just three main things you want to look at. That's building a technically sound website, technical SEO, publishing quality content, and building high quality backlinks. And in this video, we're going to go through each of these things, basically just get a general overview of what it actually means to do these things. And I'm not just going to give you a checklist of things that you should do, but I'm going to give you an understanding of why things work the way they do from the perspective of the search engine algorithm. So not only will you know what to do, but you'll also understand why you're doing these things. So the first thing is technical SEO. So when it comes to technical SEO, I really thought about this, and it all actually comes down to one thing. And that thing is minimizing the cost of retrieval for the search engine. So the cost of retrieval is the amount of resources needed for the search engine to crawl and understand the content on your website. And technical SEO is basically just minimizing or optimizing for the cost of retrieval. If you look at this list of technical issues, the goal here is actually just to minimize the cost of retrieval. Because in the end, Google is a business and it has its expenses. So the algorithm is built to be as efficient as possible and minimize this cost of retrieval. So that's basically the goal of technical SEO, just to make sure that your cost of retrieval is optimized so that it's easy for the search engine to crawl and understand the content on your website. So here's the list of technical issues you probably will encounter when you do a technical audit. Number one, crawl errors. Number two, broken links, orphan pages, schema errors, broken images, indexing issues, duplicate pages, core web vitals issues, missing title tags, meta descriptions, and alt tags. So I've actually listed some software that you can use to crawl your website and identify these issues. Screaming Frog, Sitebulb, or Ahrefs, any of these can actually crawl your website, identify these issues, and even give you suggestions on how to fix these issues. And again, if you look at each of these issues, they're mostly issues that deal with the cost of retrieval. If you have any of these issues on your website, they increase the cost of retrieval, right? When it comes to e-commerce, when it comes to e-commerce websites, the most common technical issue is really index bloat. And this happens when you leave low value pages on the index. When it comes to e-commerce sites, a lot of these unnecessary pages are created automatically, like tag pages and paginated pages. And I'm just going to actually pull this up so that you can see an example. And I'm using this example from a case study I read recently on how another agency actually ranked for craft beef jerky on this site righteousfelon.com, and they're actually doing a pretty good job. But there are a few issues that, if they fix, will probably allow them to do a little bit better job, like removing these tag pages from the index. So a lot of these pages are left on the index and they're low value. They're like content that you don't even want to rank for, like these tag pages and some paginated pages. So you don't even want to rank for these. These are low value. They don't help the end user. You want to remove these low value pages from the index. And how do you do that? You want to use canonical tags, and you want to add a canonical tag from the tag page to the original page. For example, we have this paginated page. This is page 2 of healthy beef jerky. You basically want to put a canonical tag from this page to the original page, because the original page is the one you want to index, right? This is the one you want to present to the search engine. This is the one that's high value. The paginated page is basically just a duplicate of the original page. So you're basically just increasing the cost of retrieval by indexing this page. Another thing you want to take note of is site speed. You want to use something like GTmetrix to get a benchmark of where your site speed is currently at. Common issues that slow down your website are usually image quality and size. A lot of e-commerce sites have images that are way too large and in too high of a resolution, like unnecessarily. Our computer screens are incredibly small and our phones are even smaller, so you don't really need a resolution that high. Another issue is also unnecessary plugins. Plugins that may improve user experience but weren't written very well, so they slow down your site. So you want to decrease the use of plugins that slow down your site. And the last thing is site architecture. This comes down to cost of retrieval again. You want to make sure that your pages are only 3 clicks away from the homepage. And the reason for that is actually because the search engine crawls your homepage first. So it's the most important page on your website. It has the most backlinks. It's basically the root of your website. So you want to make sure that because it's crawling the homepage first, your important pages are maximum 3 clicks away from the homepage. Because if it's 5 clicks away from the homepage, then it actually crawls the homepage and then the first page, the second, the third, fourth, fifth, and it basically increases this cost of retrieval. Ideally, your most important pages are on your navigation bar and on your homepage. Again, because it minimizes the cost of retrieval. If the search engine crawls your homepage and finds your most important pages right there, then yeah, you're basically minimizing the cost of retrieval. And it doesn't have to crawl several pages before reaching that page, right? It's just homepage and then straight to that page. And that's it. That's technical SEO. And it all boils down to minimizing the cost of retrieval. Okay, so next is content. So when it comes to content, I think, we have to talk about EEAT. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. This is something that you'll find on Google's quality rater guidelines. You'll find it everywhere. So what does it actually mean to generate expertise, authority, and trust through content? So the main thing with content is just to actually answer all the questions a customer might have. How would we do that? So the first step is to generate a complete and accurate topical map, or what's known as keyword research. To do this, you just want to accurately answer all the questions a customer might have. Because again, you're trying to establish yourself as the expert and authority in this industry. If a customer has to go to another website to get their question answered, then you're definitely not the expert in that industry, right? So how would you generate a complete and accurate topical map? One of the ways is just to enter that specific query on like your keyword research tool. Here it's Ahrefs. You can look at matching terms and just look at the questions. And here you'll find 6,200 questions. How to make beef jerky? How long does beef jerky last? Why is beef jerky so expensive, right? How is beef jerky made? So you want to answer all these questions, because answering all these questions accurately and completely will establish your brand as the expert and authority in this industry, right? So what I would do would be to basically export all these keywords, not just the questions, but all these keywords, and then I would export them into a spreadsheet and then cluster them accordingly. Because the search engine isn't expecting you to create one document for each query or keyword. You want to be able to cluster the keywords in terms of like, okay, can these queries all be answered within one document, right? Or not? Because if you create separate documents, you don't want to create 50,000 separate documents, right? Beef jerky recipe and beef jerky recipes, those two queries can be answered within one document. Right? And that's pretty obvious. But as you go through the keywords, there are going to be some less obvious decisions you have to make. But the goal of clustering is basically to cluster like terms and queries that can be answered in a single document. And of course, you have to take source context into consideration, right? Like if you're selling beef jerky, there are some queries that don't really pertain to you, right? Like how to make beef jerky in air fryer, right? Like if you're selling beef jerky, considering the source context, like as a brand that sells beef jerky, you don't actually need to answer this question on your website, right? So when it comes to creating the topical map, you have to be very thoughtful about which of these queries to include. Okay, so once you have a complete and accurate topical map, you then want to prioritize the low-hanging fruit, because in the end, good SEO is SEO that's ROI driven. Which actions can I take in the short term that can generate a positive return as soon as possible? So you want to prioritize the low-hanging fruit. So what are the low-hanging fruit? So the first one is queries you already rank for. So queries in positions 5 and above, bottom of the first page, second page, those are the queries you want to prioritize because you're already ranking pretty well for them. But the problem is that most clicks actually go to the top 3 positions. So if you're outside the top 3, you're already getting like less than 5% of the clicks. So you want to prioritize getting those queries that you already rank for from positions 5 to 20 into the top 3. Those will probably make the biggest difference when it comes to ROI and revenue. The second thing is queries that are related to what you already rank for. And the reason for that is if Google already considers you an expert on, let's say, how long does beef jerky last, queries similar to that or related to that, you will probably have a bonus because Google already likes your content for one certain query. The likelihood that it thinks that you're an authority or an expert on another query related to that is very high. And how do you find what queries are related to each other? So you want to think about the user, right? If this user is searching for craft beef jerky and how long does beef jerky last, the search engine will assume that these two queries are actually related because of, number one, like the user. The user is signaling to them that these are related queries. And the last thing is really transactional queries, or the queries that your collections pages target. And it's pretty obvious, right? These transactional queries like craft beef jerky or beef jerky itself, like it makes sense that these are the low-hanging fruit because these are the queries that actually generate the revenue. Like what's more likely to generate revenue? How long does beef jerky last? Or craft beef jerky? It's craft beef jerky. This has a strong buyer intent, right? The person searching for craft beef jerky is more likely to buy craft beef jerky than the person searching for how long does beef jerky last. Just makes sense, right? And the next thing you want to do is optimize existing pages. You probably already have pages on your website, right? That, again, queries that you already rank for, right? You basically want to go to those pages to see if you can make adjustments to improve the rankings of these pages. Next, you want to publish content optimized for SEO. And you want to make sure the content you publish is complete and accurate. That's key here because when the search engine crawls your website and it finds an inaccuracy, then that's actually a bad sign and it makes it very difficult for you to rank for anything else. Because if you're wrong about one thing, the search engine might just assume you're wrong about everything. And of course, when it comes to, publishing quality content, you want to follow the best practices for on-page SEO. You want to optimize the title tag and meta description. You want to use a proper heading structure. You want to make sure your text is easy to read and well formatted. You want to make sure you're using proper alt tags on your media. You want to make sure you're using internal and external links properly. And you want to make sure you have proper attribution of affiliate links, custom graphics, user experience optimization like callouts, tables, lists, graphs, etc. And of course, schema markup. And another thing to remember here is that quality is always relative to your competition. I've gotten on consultation calls with guys just starting out in SEO, and they always have this mindset that, oh, I put so much effort into my content and I'm not ranking. But the thing is, quality is always relative to your competition. Sometimes I just pull up their page and I pull up the page that's ranking on first, and I can clearly see that the content that's already ranking is way better than the page you're showing me, right? It doesn't matter how much effort you put. And quality is relative to your competition. And it works both ways, right? There's a lot of long tail keywords with like terrible quality, and they rank because there's no competition, right? There's nobody else targeting those queries. So that's something that you have to remember, and that's key here. Quality is always relative to your competition. And when you really, write content, you want to look at how your competition approached it, right? Like, what did they cover? What images did they use? Did they use tables and charts to explain a concept? The goal is just to make sure that you're better than your competition in the end. Like, that's the short thing of it. Like, obviously you want to follow all these things. The end goal is to make sure that your content is better than your competitors, and not just on an individual document basis, but as a whole. Like, how many questions did you answer versus how many questions did your competitor answer? And did you answer these questions accurately and completely? That's basically how you should look at content. And the last thing is backlinks, right? So what are backlinks in the first place? Backlinks are when one website links to your website or cites it as a source, right? It works like a vote of confidence. And that's why websites like Wikipedia rank for a lot of queries, because a lot of other sources refer to Wikipedia as the source or cite Wikipedia as a source. They end up getting all these backlinks naturally. And I think when you think about backlinks, you always have to think about EAT again: expertise, authority, and trust. Like, a lot of people are spending their time building out the author pages, the about page, etc., etc. But I think when it comes to EAT, backlinks actually make a bigger difference than actually putting these author pages up and using a real phone number and a real address. Like, yeah, those probably help, but when it comes to EAT, I think backlinks actually make a bigger difference. And so when it comes to backlinks, link building is really the powerhouse that drives SEO. And you can see that on the SERPs, right? The amount of queries that websites like Wikipedia, Business Insider, New York Times, even Outlook India for Parasite SEO right now, the amount of queries these websites rank for is mostly based on link building. Like, a lot of the content is short and thin and incomplete, but the amount of backlinks these websites have is basically pushing it in their favor. Again, content and backlinks really make the biggest difference. And it's not just content or backlinks, it's pretty much both. You want to do both really well. But when it comes to quality thresholds, like, there are just times when you have like so much backlinks that you don't need that much quality content, and Google will still take you. The search engine will still rank you because of the quality and quantity of your backlinks. So where do you build backlinks? You build backlinks to your most important pages. So number one, that's the homepage. Number two, that's the most popular blog content on your website. And number three, that's collections pages. What I left out here is the product pages, because if you look at e-commerce websites, a lot of product pages don't actually get backlinks. And the goal when it comes to link building is actually to build links that are relevant and powerful, but also look natural, right? You don't want to build links to product pages when, your competitors have no links to product pages. It just looks unnatural. So yeah, so these are the three main places we build backlinks: homepage, popular blog content, and collections pages. So what kind of links do we build? We build highly relevant backlinks. Backlinks based in real organic traffic, and backlinks that don't give off that spammy vibe. And how do we build them? We build them through local citations, guest posting, link insertions, working with reporters who need references, or Harrow like this, digital PR, and building linkable assets like research and survey results, infographics, or videos. And that's pretty much it. That's the SEO equation. It's just technical SEO, content, and backlinks. Ideally, you want to work on each of these things. Technical SEO for sure. You just take care of that. It's probably easy. You can do that within 24, 48 hours. And then like backlinks and content, it's like you don't wanna prioritize one over the other. Ideally, you work on both because both is more powerful than just one doing the heavy lifting, right? Content without backlinks, the likelihood of you ranking is pretty low. Backlinks without quality content is the same. The chances are not great, but if you have both, that's when you get the best bang for your buck.
So that's that. By the way, if you're an ecom brand interested in scaling revenue, improving profit margins, and reducing reliance on paid ads, there's a link in the description. Don't worry, it's not a course. There's no webinar. It's just a video of me telling you how we can help you. I don't really mind if you click it or not, but feel free to check it out if you're interested in having us execute a proper SEO campaign for your brand. So that's all for this video. If you liked the video, there's a button for that. Comment any questions, video ideas, or requests you may have. Constructive feedback is appreciated. I'm currently filming this in my sister's bedroom. I'm back in my hometown for a few weeks, but hoping the video, the content of the video was, pretty good. I know I didn't go into great detail, but that's the goal moving forward, right? Like to go into each of these, technical SEO, content, backlinks in greater detail. So yeah, subscribe if you want more. Cheers.